pretty much going to be a self-service process, right? So
Absolutely.
people can just subscribe, try it for free probably, and see if it works for them, and they can just subscribe a variety of different models to run the demands.
Yes. And every law firm is different. So we have templates that they can build for their header, for their footer, what have you. So they can customize it and it doesn't look like it was just, machine chopped.
Right. You just got to make sure that the attorney actually wrote it. Right?
Exactly.
And send it in the paper format.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining a LegalSoft podcast. My name is Hamid, Kohan, CEO of LegalSoft. Today, I'm very excited to announce our initiatives within the AI industry for the legal sector. As a LegalSoft, we founded a new company last year called Law Practice AI, which is entire focus is to develop, launch, and implement an AI initiative within the legal industry. Who's joining me today is Amitai, who are chief architects for the AI initiatives, and he has a great team under him that he's guiding to develop this AI initiative. Hi, Amitai. Welcome to the show.
Hi, it's great to be here. So yeah, like Hamid said, I basically design our AI systems, architect them, run them through dev, and hopefully we'll be bringing them to you soon.
Wonderful.
Very excited.
For those of you who are already wondering about the impact of the AI within the legal industry, there's going to be a huge impact. There's going to be happen pretty rapidly. And that's why we got involved so soon, and we develop our own AI team under Amitai's direction. How many developers do we have currently on the team who is developing the AI initiative?
Currently, we have about 30 developers, somewhere in that neighborhood, working on various products that hopefully we'll be talking about today.
All right. So for those of you, just brief description of what we're trying to do with this AI is what we call the AI PI, basically, because our first project is PI-oriented, personal injury. And the personal injury challenge begins with targeting the right audience for clients that you want to acquire through any kind of advertising platforms, Meta, Google, YouTube, everything else. So that's the beginning. Then the next stage is the AI intake, which we've already started development on the AI intake. AI intake, basically, for those of you who wondering what does that mean, we took the AI from a LegalSoft perspective from local staff doing AI to making the virtual staff doing AI, bilingual and so forth. And we think the next level is going to be the AI itself doing the entire intake. Imagine you get on the call with a client and the client is actually talking to AI that looks pretty much like a human being and can adjust the language pretty much immediately to the language that the client is speaking of, and do the entire intake, adjust the intake per client, per type of a case, and so forth. So that's our intake AI. Then going into case management AI, setting up treatments, following up with treatments, getting medical records. Again, AI will do that entire process. The other part that we have already completed is the demand AI, actually generating the personal injury case demands using the AI. So, Amitai, why don't you walk us through what you do when you're doing the demand AI?
Yeah, so Demands AI is an awesome project. We started a little while ago and we're nearing the end of our development phase for that. So we'll be getting that out soon. But the whole purpose of this Demands is normally you have an intake team, collects all the info about a case, goes through case management. Now you want to write this letter. So the way that our system works is you upload your files, be it a police report, medical records, a loss of wages statement, like a pay stub. You upload all that information, and our system effectively will take all of that information and then create a complete legal letter for you. It goes through a drafting period, and then it QAs itself. And then after that, you as a human can QA it. So you can tell it, oh, this section is a little too wordy, please shorten it a bit. You can tell it that the damages that it wrote for loss of wages isn't enough. So it's very interactive, but it's also pretty much end-to-end writing it with a machine in about like 30 minutes.
Is there any limitation on the number of medical records? Let's say somebody gone to 5 different medical providers, had a surgery, had treatments, pain management, therapies, all this other stuff, MRIs and so forth. Is there any limitation of what we can basically put into this demand writing process?
Currently, the only limitation is what you are able to upload. If you have no medical records, you can input it manually. If you have the medical record, you can add 10 medical records for all our system cares. The more information that you have, though, obviously the better it'll be for our system, because then it's able to fact check itself and all.
So is a system able to draw conclusions from a set of medical treatments and the medical records to identify injuries and future injuries, current injuries? How does that work?
Absolutely. So the way that our system has worked so far is that we'll first go through and read all of the documents you gave us. If it's a medical record, we can read 100, 200 page medical records, not a problem. And even if they're handwritten, which is big because some doctors still handwrite a lot of their records. So we'll take all those records, we'll first create some summaries so that our system doesn't have to see all of that information at once. And based off of those, we're able to infer, for example, that, oh, they might need a shot of epidural later on down the line, and we can put that in future care. Or if they need physical therapy additional in what they've already done, we can also include that going down the line and add that into the future care section. So we
I
are
see.
able to predict futures.
So if as a law firm I have 10 demands sitting around waiting to be written, which is a no-no, you should never have a demands waiting, because you don't issue demands, you don't start the settlement process. So I can get them all done basically in one day. If I have 10, 15, 20 demands, I can get them done.
Absolutely. You submit them, let's say in the morning as you get into the office, 30 minutes later, you go get a coffee, come back. It should probably be done with draft one. And likely draft one will be your end draft. So
I see. I know that we also have legal staff in the team that have previous experience, obviously working in a PI firm, developing demands, creating demands, editing, adjusting, and all of that. How does that works out with in the process of developing the system? Who help? How did they help? What's the process like?
So we have a couple attorneys we work with, in addition to a couple paralegals, and effectively when we were first building this system, we took a bunch of these demand writers, be it a lawyer or a paralegal, and we had them show us a few examples, and we broke that down into sections and started working on each individual section with a very close-knit back and forth of, this is what our machine generated, how would you tweak it? This is what our machine generated, what do you like, what do you not like? And it was very back and forth process. There was a lot of input from the people who actually do this for a living
Right.
into this machine, because it's only going to be as good as the people. So
Exactly, because I know one of the guidelines we had developing this project was not have more than a 15 minutes time for the attorneys who have submitted the demand order to edit and make corrections. So not have to spend hours and whatever. It's just like in 15 minutes, I make this few changes. Boom, I got a demand I'm sending out today.
Exactly. The goal was that you'd read the demand and you'd just hit the check mark and it would go straight to their inbox. They could download it and that's the end of it. The goal was that the review would literally be, they read it, they're like, this is good, and we're done.
Right. So this is pretty much going to be a self-service process, right? So
Absolutely.
people can just subscribe, try it for free probably, and see if it works for them, and they can just subscribe a variety of different models to run the demands.
Yes. And every law firm is different. So we have templates that they can build for their header, for their footer, what have you. So they can customize it and it doesn't look like it was just, machine chopped.
Right. They just got to make sure that the
pretty.
attorney actually wrote it. Right?
Exactly.
And send it in the paper format.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay. What else can you tell us about that demand writing that makes us, the law practice AI, to stand out from the rest of the crowd?
So the beauty of having a machine write it is that it's so fast at creating these generations. So when I mentioned 30 minutes, it would likely be less. 30 minutes is like the cap of, it would only take 30 minutes at most. So the beauty of it is that instead of sitting there writing these, coming up with an idea from scratch and having like a blank canvas, you're now an editor. So you can go from, editing one demand, writing one demand, to maybe 10 that you look at this one, you submit the changes, you wait 10 minutes, you work on another one, and that way your capacity is increased. So compared to like other companies that are building it by hand, our turnaround time of 30 minutes is honestly, quite frankly, revolutionary, because you're gonna be able to get these edits so fast. You'll probably have trouble getting all these edits and being able to edit what you want to do, but since it's so fast, it's really going to push your productivity through the roof.
Great. I also noticed something on the business plan that we were working on, is that your price target to do this is $97 per demand.
Yes. So because we're doing it with machines, I mean, there's a lot of R&D that went into it, but we're able to drop the price from a person doing it by a significant margin.
Right. Because I know also in the market there's a few other competitors, obviously, and their price range are like $400, $500, $600 per demand. So this should definitely help the firms who have tons of demands to be published.
Agreed. And if you don't like a demand and it goes through our system, it's not a huge burden. Like we said, it was only $97 for a
Right.
demand. So it's, I mean, we would even regenerate it for you. It's not a burden on our side.
Exactly. And also, you had a big library of previously demands written by professionals, by attorneys within the law firms, that your machine learning is actually using it to be able to learn. Is a machine learning, so it's learning it from thousands of other pre-existing demands to be able to produce the most effective and highest value demand for the PI firm.
Yeah, so it's for every future care like section, for example, that it's writing, it has seen thousands of those previously. So it's not just writing something like ChatGPT would. It is trained as almost a lawyer, so is very knowledgeable in what it's writing.
The lawyer with unlimited time that can
Yes.
can research, write, and then edit again.
And clone itself. So if you want to submit 3 demands at once, we clone our system 3 times and push all 3 demands out at the same time.
So the most they use this service for the firm, the better and better the demand gets, because he's also learning from the way that this attorney operates and likes the letters to be read and so forth. So it adds to the equation about making it more perfect the way the attorney wants it in a PI firm.
Absolutely. All those changes that you submit to us, we track them for not just improving our overall demand service, but your specific demand service itself.
Right.
So
right from the beginning, again, this has been part of a LegalSoft initiative that LegalSoft invested in. The point was to be able to just go to one place to get everything done, because we know this AI thing maybe started with the demand, but it's like 7 other boxes needs to be checked before the demand and after the demand. So that's why we set it up to be a one-place solution that basically thinking ahead and implementing ahead for the law firms, like we've done in other areas within LegalSoft, is to case generation, again, intake, the best possible way to do a 24/7, not just bilingual, it's like 120 language intake, and that the intake can even understand the client's questions, impressions, expressions, everything, and then be able to adjust to it, then do the case management, do the demand, and hopefully to do the lien reduction and create a disbursement letter, hopefully. So we're trying to really do a AI, PI, the entire process. And that's what I think is going to be the greatest value for the attorneys, either starting up or they haven't been able to scale for a variety of lack of resources for each of these areas that are hard to get, hard to keep, and is expensive. So that's the initiative that we have for Practice AI.
Absolutely. We're trying to automate your factory of law firms, if you will. It's like an industrial revolution.
Right. What other practice areas is a Practice AI going to be working on other than the personal injury?
So the other areas that we're moving into are a lot of transactional law. So potentially immigration is coming down the pipeline. I saw it in our meetings like a couple of days ago. But yeah, so we're moving into, for example, filing immigration papers, filing a lot of family matters.
Right.
So
on the demand side, I know that you're also working on the workers' comp demand writing.
Yes.
So it's not just personal injury.
It's
It's
not.
a workers' comp for sure is the closest thing to personal injury because it involves injuries. So workers' comp demand, and I know that you also started working on employment labor law demands.
Yes, so there's actually a drop down when you go and fill out our form. It's like a 5-minute form to submit a demand request, and that's where you do upload the files for like your police report and all. But when you're filling that form out, you just select from a drop down which demand you want to generate. It does do a little fact checking, so if you do make a mistake and click the wrong one, it will be like, hey, there's not really any injuries for this, slip and fall demand that you had. But we are going into different sectors. So we do have obviously PI. We are going into employment. There's a couple other demand sections that we're moving into. PI was our start because it obviously has a huge market, but also it was in many ways a lot harder.
Right, because there's such a variety of different injuries for different incidents and so forth. And I think the workers' comp going to be the most similar to it, and much faster and shorter process to complete. But I think the employment labor could be challenging because it's such a big spectrum of demands, from wage and hour demands, which is very easy, compared to litigation wrongful termination demands. So I'm sure you guys will figure that out soon and implement it. But the whole point is to have one AI location for a law firm where people can just go, and if everything that can be done with the AI would be done in this location, one profile, one account, and then you do everything else in there. Great. Amitai, thank you for joining us today. I know you're very busy. You're thinking, doing, and innovating. So thank you very much for joining today's podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate being on here.
This was a great opener. I'm sure we're going to do a lot more updates on this podcast to keep everybody in tune. This is a fast-moving train within the AI, and we're taking a lot of initiatives to be ahead of it. So keep in tune with the LegalSoft and the Practice AI. Please click on the bottom link if you want to follow us and get more information. Thank you very much for joining us today.